really love my dad to be speaking in front of a crowd like this. Someone once told me to conquer stage fright, you should imagine your audience naked. But because we're in church, I won't do that. My father, Young Suk, was a giving and loving man. He loved his family, his church, his work, and he gave his love to anyone who needed it. I learned a lot about my father in the past few months, from the many friends and strangers that came to visit. I always knew he was an incredibly giving and loving person, but never realized how many people's lives he touched. I am lucky to have learned how to love and give from him. He would say he wished he could have done more, and I told him his gift was making people feel comfortable. And he did that for so many people. Here are some examples of his giving spirit. My father understood the love and mercy of Jesus and tried to share that with the youth in the 80s. He provided a place for the youth group of the church to worship on Fridays. From that era of youth group, there were over a dozen pastors who are sharing their love of Jesus all over the United States. I remember one day I came home and our amplifier was missing. I asked what happened. He said our church needed an amplifier. The sound system at church was fine, but we could no longer hear our record player and 8-track. If someone was new to town, he would help them feel welcome and important, show them around, buy them a meal, introduce them to everyone as if he were their brother or sister. On his birthday, he would take his birthday and Christmas money. He would buy rice and fruit for people who needed it, and we would drive all around Queens in the cold of December to drop it off and pray and say hello. When he found that someone was in the hospital, he would visit them and bring food every day. He would come to my school and write the kids' names in Korean. He would come with me to watch their sporting events and cheer for them like they were his own students. Sorry. I could go on, but we'd be here all day. I had to bring a mirror to remind myself how ugly I am when I'm crying. So this was his trademark, I guess. He bought 3,000 of these Jesus is Lord tie, and he gave them out to everybody. He would evangelize in the streets of Flushing. And so people would come to me and say, yo, I saw your father on Main Street giving you the like, oh, my father was a Jesus is Lord tie. But that, he felt like was his purpose in life, to go and preach God's word and teach everybody of his love. My friend Ann said, your dad was an amazing man and father to his girls, and even to those who needed an extra dad at times. And I heard that more than once. One brother told me that my dad asked him if he wanted to stop hanging out and go to school. When he said yes, my dad said, come to Port Washington. He set him up in school, gave him a job, and loved him like a son. For every son or daughter that my dad welcomed, my mother was right there welcoming them as a mother. I think my mom has cooked more meals than all the diners in New York City. I see his many talents in us, his daughters. Julie has my dad's ability to make people feel comfortable and welcome. Within one conversation, she can find out where you were from, how many people are in their family, what they do with it for a living, what they want to do in their life, and if they have a problem. And by the end of the conversation, she tries to look for a solution for that problem. That's my father. Jen, I don't know exactly how to say it in words, so I'll give you an example. When we were in hospice, we were there for a while. It's like we knew the ropes, and a new Korean family came in. She showed them where everything was, who to speak to, how to get things, where the airbed was. But not only did she tell them, she showed them. She set up the bed, got them blankets, got them pillows. That's my father. And then when she wasn't there, she would call me and say, can you go check on the husband next door? He doesn't always know to get a meal. So I said, okay. And if he doesn't get one, can you get him one? I said, okay. Then he goes, if you think he's bored, can you give him the CD player or the iPad? I said, okay. Did you see the sign? There's free rides for family members if they need it. You think we should call for him? I said, okay. And she goes, you think you can swab the mouth of the patient so she can have fresh breath? I said, I'll call the nurse for that. I said, my gift, you ask? My dad, he loved to eat. He loved to invite people over. He loved a big barbecue, a big party. He liked giving people a good home-cooked meal and welcomed them like family. My friend Jing recently wrote, "Being accepted into a family that always loves and never judges has been one of the biggest blessings of my life. Behind this family stood a revering man of God, young Jing, whom I've learned and soaked in wisdoms of life from. He would always talk to me with a smile and make me feel like I was one of his own." I would like to think that that's my gift, maybe. He truly believed in family and treated everybody like his family. If I could ask you to do one thing in his honor, he was about serving others. It could be to call somebody just to see how they're doing. If you're arguing with somebody, maybe you can call her and try to make amends. If you need if you know that a friend might need a lunch, take them out to lunch. If you know someone is moving, offer help. If someone needs a ride, give it. That's what my father would do. My father was all about serving others, and I was so thankful to those who came to return the love he once gave. Thank you to Mr. Lee, who came every night to read his Bible verses. Thank you, Mother Bob, who came to feed us that. Thanks, Liz and Timo, for feeding us so many Sundays. I'm lucky to have learned and received his love. I believe that the amazing people in our lives stems from the relationships that my father built. Thank you, Dad. We will miss you, but we know that you'll be watching out for us in heaven as you did for us on earth. We miss you and we love you. Thank you.